Hello, children. Let's start our poem from the book First Flight. The name of the poem is Animals. This poem is written by Walt Whitman. Walt Whitman is an American poet. Once earlier also we have read the poem of piece of poetry of one more American poet. His name was Robert Frost. And today again we are going to write one piece of poetry from an American poet. His name is Walt Whitman. Let me tell you something about the poet. Walt Whitman was an American poet, essayist, and journalist. He was born on May 31, 1819 in New York, and he died on 26 March 1892. The famous works from his pen were Leaves of Grass, O Captain, My Captain, Song of Myself. These were his major works, like he is known for these works. This poem, Animals, is taken from his work Leaves of Grass. It is just an taken from his his renowned work Leaves of Grass. It's taken from there. The poet Walt Whitman tells frankly that he feels more comfortable and at home with animals rather than with his fellow human beings. As for him, his fellow human beings are complicated, false, they are wearing a mask, they maintain dual standard. He has lost so much faith in human race and he wants to turn, or he wants himself to get changed into animals. Human beings have become mad as they are running after materialistic things. They are a bundle of complication, contradictions, and confusion. Their conscience is not clear. So that is why they suffer from nightmares and all these things. On the other hand, the animals are calm, self contained, and contented. They do not run after material things. They do not need to worship God as they never suffer from any sense of guilt or sin. Ancestors of human beings shared a lot of tokens of love, understanding in remote past. Unfortunately, human beings have lost those tokens of love, understanding completely forever. So, in this poem, the poet actually wants himself to get turned into animals. So let's start our poem, children. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. Here placid means calm, self-contained means contented. The poet thinks that he could turn or change himself and he should go and live with animals as they are very calm, contented. I stand and look at them long and long. He watched the animals for long time. He stands at one place and watches them. Animals are so calm and self-satisfied. He is so much impressed with the animals that he goes on looking at them for hours and hours. Next, they do not sweat and whine upon their condition. They do not cry upon, or they do not sweat after hard work and do not cry or complain about their condition. They do not awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not awake at night. Here, awake at night means they do not get afraid in their sleep because of nightmares, and they do not even cry for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God, and not one is dissatisfied, not one is demented with the mania of owning things. They do not make anyone sick by discussing their duty to God. Animals do not make anyone sick and do not talk about their duties towards God. They do not make poet upset by discussing their duties towards God. And no one is demented with the mania of owning things. And no one is mad after materialistic possessions. Here, no one means animals. Here, we are talking about animals. No one kneels to another nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. None of them, not even a single animal, bow to another animal. To their kind means bow to another animals or to their ancestors, to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Here the poet is telling us that none of the animal bow before their ancestors. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the earth, and none of the animal is unhappy and on the whole earth. No one is respectable. They do not have to show to respect to their elders or to others, and no one is unhappy on this whole earth. So they show their relation to me and I accept them. And poet, to the poet, animals keep on showing their relations with each other, and the poet, and these relations with each other are acceptable to poet. He is very happy to see the animals. They are contented, how they live with each other, how they have good values, how they have sharing, caring nature for each other, and they do not run after materialistic possessions. These are all the tokens of love which were there, which were present in the recent past or in the ancestors of the human being. But in today's world, human beings have lost these values. These values are left behind. But anyhow, animals still possess these values of caring, sharing, love, compassion. All these values animals possess. So that is why the poet wants himself to get changed into animal. So they show their relation to me and I accept them. They bring me tokens of myself. Sorry. They envise them plainly in their possession. The poet accepts those relations with them happily. They provide all the token of noble virtues that are present in the poet. They show that they possess all these virtues in plenty. So they show their relation to me. So they are related to the poet. Which term they are related? That poet also wants to have all these values. Poet also has not lost these values. That is why they bring me tokens of myself. They show them what the poet has. Who show them? Animals. By their values, by their relation, show the poet that the poet is also what poet has, and they envise them plainly in their possession. Animals, they here means animals, they have sufficiently these values in them. They have kept these values in them very carefully. They have not lost these values. I wonder where they get those tokens. Now poet is really surprised to think about, by thinking about that, from where these values, these animals have got these values from where. Did I pass that way huge time ago and negligently drop them? Here the poet is say, maybe long back the poet must have passed that way, and the poet is telling that long ago the humans were possessing these values. Animals still have these values, but I think human beings have dropped those values carelessly long back. Which values? The value, tokens of noble virtues, token of love, compassion, sympathy, empathy, all these noble virtues are still there in the animals. And human beings were also having these values long ago, but carelessly and slowly, with the gradual changes in the lifestyle of the human beings, they have dropped these values. Drop these values means they have lost these values somewhere else. So that's all, children, for the poem. I think you have understood the meaning of the poem. This is a very good poem and very good poet also at the same time. So enjoy the poem.